So we can introduce them.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for coming to watch our movie. It is about mapping people, and it is about how people interact into interior spaces and how they react to it.
The main reason why we decided to do it is because we thought that it's really important to understand the human behavior and how people use the spaces, what do they actually do inside. And the reason is that understanding that, it makes you a better designer. You know what people want and what do they do in the space, how do they use it. So you would design in the right way.
And then this is the first time for all of us just to come here and then make the video. So we hope you can enjoy it and have fun.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Approaching an interior architecture project demands cognizance of a diversity of needs: spatial, technical, cultural, and functional. The interior evolves as each of these concerns is defined and integrated into a holistic solution. From hospitality to workplace and healthcare to retail, the demand for innovative multidisciplinary solutions is formidable. Designers must be uniquely and comprehensively equipped to create supportive, responsive environments that are functional, healthy, and safe. What principles must be employed to create truly life-changing environments? Empirical studies in cognitive psychology and behavioral geography examine how the human mind comprehends space and place, orients itself within a designed environment, and perceives architectural and aesthetic details. The sociologist William Holly White believed that design should start with a thorough understanding of the way people use spaces and the way they would like to use spaces. He noted that people vote with their feet. They use spaces that are easy to use, that are comfortable. They don't use spaces that are not. Like White did in his pioneering study of pedestrian behavior, The Social Life of Small Urban Spaces, we too conducted observations and film analyses of shoppers in IKEA and charted their meanderings. Why shouldn't the lessons of human behavior in public spaces be applied to interior spaces as well? What emerged from this analysis is an extremely human, sometimes amusing view of what is decidedly obvious, but usually goes overlooked, about people's behavior in public spaces. The most dominant secret to IKEA's success is its labyrinth-like spatial organization, designed to obscure a path to the exit. Shoppers meander along a seemingly clear path, continually distracted by displays of easily accessible merchandise bordering the path. This 12-foot wide circulation system, we call it the public street, consistently provides clearly defined, small, fully accessorized vignettes. We call them the private rooms, to the right of the public street, and a larger, more clustered display of merchandise, we call it the semi-private salon, to the left of the public street. Behavior in the public street is just that, a street. As shoppers pull over to the right to pause, and allow others to keep their pace in passing. IKEA's other secret is the shortcut. We were interested in how many people take the shortcuts and why. Most fascinating is who cheats the labyrinth. The shortcut option allows an out for those who feel a loss of control by being confined to the street, like cutting through an alley. It restores the cutter's sense of autonomy and provides a time saver for direct access to certain merchandise. Our study revealed that a whopping 40% of IKEA shoppers take the shortcuts. Why? Because in exercising their freedom of choice and the need to break away from the herd, shortcuts give people a sense of autonomy. People need to make their own rules of how to use space, which begs the question, how important is user autonomy in interior architecture? Making your own spatial rules is vital to inhabiting space. Another observation that intrigued us was shoppers' interaction and engagement with the merchandise. Who samples what, how do they sample, and for how long? What merchandise grabbed their attention the most? We found that people tend to go where other people are. There are a few reasons why people follow other people, but the most important reason is the human act of crowding, with roots in animal instincts, best explained by Edward T. Hall, who said, "Herd behavior describes how individuals in a group can act collectively without centralized direction." The term can refer to the behavior of animals in herds, packs, bird flocks, fish schools, and so on, as well as the behavior of humans in demonstrations, riots, and sporting events. But what attracts the first member of the herd, beckoning others to follow? We observed that strategically displayed product, augmented by color, lighting, and pricing, attracts the first herd member, and then the others will follow. The numerous retail strategies designed to attract, engage, and ultimately get shoppers to purchase owe their success to consumer psychology tactics. Paco Underhill, an environmental psychologist, also inspired by William Holly White, analyzes shopping behavior in retail environments and supplies aesthetic and atmospheric models to retailers conducive to buying. These deliberate models are based on sleuthy fieldwork, employ generally unnoticed methods of persuasion to get shoppers to buy. As Paco says, if we went into the store only when we needed to buy something, and if once there we bought only what we needed, the economy would collapse. The lessons of consumer psychology reveal vital, scientific, universal norms about how people navigate and use architectural spaces, which should be considered and even employed by designers of most interior architecture projects. Why? Because knowing human behavior is decidedly human, and this understanding is at the core of designing for humans. It's practically universal. IKEA shoppers have a sense of freedom and comfort not readily found in most other retail environments. Perhaps more than their spatial needs are being met. We observed that the secret sauce of IKEA is an atmosphere of safety. Safety is one of the needs defined by the psychologist Abraham Maslow in his hierarchy of needs theory. Maslow's observations of human behavior resulted in a psychological health approach predicated on fulfilling innate human needs in their priority. These needs are undeniable and should be considered when designing architectural spaces. Maslow said, "What a man can be, he must be." This need we call self-actualization. We also mapped shoppers' use of mobile devices and how that use affects their shopping experience. Unsurprisingly, people tend to engage with their devices when bored or waiting. However, device usage seemed mostly limited to sharing photos of the merchandise, thus focusing on and enhancing the IKEA experience, rather than disengaging from it. Proof that IKEA's spatial odyssey consumes the consumer, which suggests that designers should design spaces to support the additional layer of human activity, the mobile device interaction. Does this mobile engagement apply to all shoppers? We were surprised to notice that physical versus digital engagement varied according to gender. Men seem to engage in real-time conversation 52% more than women. Men are chattier, while women consumed by space interaction were more seriously focused on shopping. This is due to the fact that as large numbers of women become steadily wealthier, more powerful, and more independent, their choices and preferences are transforming our commercial environment in a variety of important ways. Now, considering all these factors, how important and applicable are the lessons of human behavior to the design of interior architecture? The environment behavior approach to architecture places the values and needs and preferences of all users at the forefront of the design process, founded on the belief that good design is ultimately judged by how conducive it is to human experience. Incorporating psychological, behavioral, social, and cultural research methods enables designers to identify strategies by which we can discover a reciprocal relationship between architecture and its users. As Winston Churchill said, "We shape our buildings, therefore they shape us."
How do you collect your data when you said 52% men
We
are
had-
chattier?
Yes, we came up with charts based on gender, years, and then we spent quite a lot of time in IKEA just mapping people, as it's the name of the project, how many people entered the shortcuts. We counted them by hours or 30 minutes, 15 minutes. And then after we collected all the data, we analyzed it, and that's how we came up with the percentage and the
So based on counting.
We split it into groups, like in age groups, and then also like single or common families, and then gender, we kind of did all that.
So if each one of you was to express in one synthetic sentence what is that you learned from this process, what would it be?
I would say that people use spaces in a very unexpected way sometimes. As for example, we didn't expect that men are chattier than women. So that may affect the space in some way when designing, because people think that they use a space in a particular way, but sometimes it's not exactly the case. So you need to observe them in order to understand what they're actually doing. Because when they tell you that they want to do something, it doesn't mean that they're going to use the space in this way. So you're there to observe them and to tell them what is best for the design. That's how I see it.
How do you think IKEA came up with a 12-feet street?
I think, as we said, Pac Wonderhill, it's all based on the consumer psychology and the marketing strategies, because they want to make people stay as long as they can in the space and create this path as a labyrinth that goes all the way through, so you can see each section and shop as much as you can. So stay longer, shop more. I think it was based on this reason.
I mean, there is always, like the phenomenon, there's always a reason why people act like that. And then, like, for example, we had the shortcut ones there. Some people, so far we know that, they only go there for, eating, just that simple. But then they take the shortcut after they finish lunch, dinner, they probably would have a chance just to go through. They wanted to see a little bit more, but they didn't expect they would spend money there. So that's one of the strategy that can use to attract more people. So,
Did you notice any micro-threshold conditions between the salon area and the street area? Like the one where you have the family, the mom and looks like a dad and son or something, trying out that couch. Did you notice how they spill out of the defined area of the floor into the street? Like there's a blurring of the two domains?
Yeah, so they can grab your attention more and you can focus on a particular furniture.
Do you think that the blurred domain can be designed?
Yes.
I guess so. But IKEA tried to make it more clear. Like, when we were doing observation, we saw like in the private like showrooms, so people are actually waiting turns, like,
To try things
Yeah,
out.
exactly. So when another group of people there, they'd rather stay outside in a path or somewhere else just to wait until they finish. But for like public, well, semi-public areas, all people, they just go, maybe they just, gather around, or maybe they could just sit on the same couch, probably.
Yeah, and that's actually the reason why we called it the private rooms and the public street, because and then semi-private, because we noticed that the private, like the showrooms, are very personal in a way. When you go trying the space, you kind of territorize it, so people don't feel comfortable entering in there while you are in there, because it's more like close up and it feels more like home.
Yeah.
While the semi-private and the public, it's more accessible for everyone.
Yeah, and also human behavior like changes in every area, the private area and the semi-private and also the public.
Did you also see a difference in the lighting between those three areas?
Yes. In the public area, we noticed like the lights are more focused on the object. It's brighter than the other area, the private area. So yes, there's a difference.
And then the lighting in the marketplace, when you go downstairs, it's a bit not that bright. It's not that lit in the space. And we, as in the showroom. So.
Showroom, basically, you feel like it's home. That's what it tend to let you feel. And then, like, other places like marketplace and those aisles, they just make it like industrialized, and you just pick things up quick, and they don't have to bring your attention somehow, because you already know what you're gonna get, just pick it up there. So that's quite different.
Did you notice a sequence of what type of use area comes first and second and third if you were to follow the labyrinth? Like if you come up the escalator, what is the first area of the showroom? What are they showing?
That's the
Living room.
Yeah, living room.
And then after that?
And after that, it's going to
And after that, it goes more into the
the couch part.
yeah, it's more like the public area of the living space, but more like products, like couches, beds, and then it goes into the bedrooms and the kitchens.
And then the workspace, and then it's kind of like a section, so.
And the very last space is more the bedroom, bathroom kind of thing?
Yes.
You mean upstairs?
Yeah, after
So,
you go.
Upstairs,
it's
like,
kind of
they don't have
upstairs,
the
yeah.
bathroom part. Bathroom was like, in the beginning, it's like the showroom. Like it has like a tiny room that you would have a private bath, you have your, couch, and little tiny bit of thing, everything there. But then, the bathroom was like mainly downstairs in the marketplace. They have a little bit.
It
there.
kind of starts with the big picture in mind. So when you enter, they want you to imagine yourself in the space and want to purchase a lot of things, because when you see something, you want to have the whole package. And then they start with that, and they go slowly deeper into specific
Mhm.
places.
It's kind of like a core out that you have a floor plan for a house, and then like later on you go to the section, you have the call out for the couch, and the call out for the workspace, the table, and the kitchens, like that.
I'm wondering if there was something going on where the most familiar and the most sort of crossover type of furniture between public and private is really the couch. So everyone can sit on the couch. They've sat on couches in lobbies, right? They sat on couches in private homes. So you get the consumer ready to try out the things, because that's an easy threshold to cross. And then finally, people are flopping themselves on bed, and that's not something that you were probably likely to do first. So I think even the programming of space use, right, and the sequence of it becomes kind of an important consideration for design. I thought was
So you
interesting.
kind of feel more relaxed.
Yeah, it's
with
already
the
like
way-
got you going, oh, you can try this,
Yes.
now try something a little bit more private.
Yes.
But
I
do you
agree.
think that the floor element is floor and lighting are the two sort of constant element that defines space?
We
Or
do
how does the
think,
furniture
especially
play?
for the flooring, because it clearly separates the three paths. There is this public street that we call, which is the path of navigation, and it almost seems like people are like a wave just passing through it while considering in which direction to go, either into the more private or the semi-private. So it's kind of clearly divided. So there is a definitely relationship between.
By light and color also for the floor.
What are the signs that come down and tell you what the name and the price and all this stuff, that the woman picked up and looked at it? What is the role of that, if you count that as an architectural element?
Do as you see, there's this sense of freedom in IKEA, so you don't always have to go and ask the stuff how much it costs, what more information about the product, because you can find a lot over there when it's so clearly shown to you, and you only go and ask them when you really need help. So you just enter inside the space and you're free to do anything you want.
I'm wondering if you can couch that as more a kind of physical description. Like, if we say that this space is made primarily of planes, the typical thing,
Okay.
people say point line planes, right?
Yes,
So what are the signs?
planes, I would say.
I would think color, I'll just kind of continue the last topic, when they have the sign there, hanging there, and then they have like a very bright yellow background color that attracts your eyes, and a big number on top of it.
So the emotional quality
yeah.
of it is actually that of a point, right? It just goes like that, right? It's an accent. So the point is located
Okay.
somewhere within that grouping. So I think sometimes it's beneficial, I know that you guys are mapping behavior, but to switch back and forth between looking at space from the kind of analysis of the physical composition of the space, and then enhancing, overlaying the behavioral studies and stuff, I think that's where you can get the most in-depth kind of understanding of it. I don't think you can just peel one layer off and just say, okay, we're going to just look at human behavior, because the physical manifestation and the composition of that labyrinth, like you said, goes much deeper.
And I think that's very important for us as designers also because you can learn what are the tools. And IKEA is a very successful company. They have highly trained people designing those spaces for them. But what are the tools that they're using to really attract people to do certain things? What is successful there? And they are very, very successful. You know, these about psychology. How do they get people to lay down on the beds? You know, that's one of the big questions. Because in any other store, that's not happening. Maybe in a mattress store, but in any other furniture store, nobody would do that. They do it. They create an atmosphere through lighting, materials, through also disorientation.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely very disorienting in there, I think, in the postmodernist, consumerist way. And I think that's very important, and to really look at those things, the light and acoustics also sometimes. They're not that important there, but it also plays a role. What kind of music are they playing? You had that once in there when, what was it, Happy? Song? You know, a song that everybody knows that is happy and positive, all those things. It's not gangster rap that they're playing.
Well, they actually did observe all those other layers and did analysis of all those other layers, but I think they didn't include all that in the film because the film would have been too long. But they have the documentation about the materials, the lighting, the color, the smells, the acoustics, the textures.
Temperature.
Yeah, temperature as
The
well.
furniture, they have all that data
Yeah.
recorded.
I think I'm very happy to see the results. I think compared to midterm, this is just amazing result. I'm happy to see more diagrams this time that actually start describing the space. But I agree with Amy and Christophe that I think to have some images in there that maybe analyze the space a little bit more, like architecturally, three-dimensionally, and perhaps this data that you mapped as well could have been brought into the video in terms of like, I don't know, maybe color palette could have changed in base of what you actually were seeing, and maybe there was a way to create a relationship between the smell and the imagery, or like have some sort of like signaling in that specific view. What are we seeing? Because it feels like it's really dynamic, it's very well done, really thoughtful, the script is excellent, all of this. But I feel the imagery is a little bit too generic, and then it zooms in into the specifics of that very space occasionally. And that maybe could be a little bit more heavy-handed. So maybe less stock photos and more actual analysis, right?
Yeah, it would
Because
be great to
the
see your
narrative
product,
is
yeah.
already very powerful, and then you have to overlay that to all the different imagery that, yes, helps to understand, but the script is so clear that you don't need that. So maybe you can pair that with the analysis of the space as opposed as like an image that references what you already hear, if that makes sense, right? So when the script says, for instance, when it talks about crowding, right, as opposed to seeing the ships together, which, yes, we know that comes from the from animal, the observation of how animals behave. You can show that applied to a diagram into IKEA or photographs with an analysis of the people grouping around the couch, or right? Because otherwise it's kind of redundant, and you miss an opportunity of showing your research, not some photo taken by
As an evidence.
a documentarist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that this will be very well received by even like a general audience, like someone who's not really trained in any of the design fields. No, you are trained.
No, actually, I was very curious about your point, about the point.
Yeah.
I would have said, about
Yes.
the price and the names.
Uh-huh.
For me, those were planes. But I was thinking, in a way, you don't even think about how you behave in space. You're not even doing anything unconsciously. they have placed things at the eye level. And, you know, so you don't have to bend down to read. It's right there in front of you when you're standing, which people like doing. And then I've noticed that all the bins on the side of that 12-foot, and I'm still thinking about why it is, because I kept doing this and I'm wondering, oh, let's see, I can do 2 people with outstretched arms and we won't crash into each other. See, I can have 1 baby carriage, I can have a twin carriage, we won't crash. And so it's a wonderful focal point. But then also with the bins, you don't have to move your hands. They are right at hand height. And so you're just allowed to be your human body in that space as it is designed for us.
I find sometimes it's also useful to squint, because there's too much information. Like, Nina was great to kind of get you guys through all the sensorial analysis and stuff. If you squint in this room, you will see what I meant by the point line planes. They become really clear, you know, like, that's why I called it a point.
No, I get it.
There's a sense of something sort of coming at you, right? And
Bumping.
as designers, you have to get your body into the space to receive that information, rather than being a neutral observer and just kind of looking at the shell of the room. But rather you want these elements to come and inform. So part of the sensitivity of a designer is to feel that this ceiling is really low when I stand up, right? And it's kind of oppressive. The way that the showroom floor ceiling being low is in a way kind of keeping you going. So there's 2 messages on the top floor. One is like, keep going, keep going. The other one is like, oh, look at, I'm so interesting here, you know, stay for a while, right? And kind of things like that. I'm wondering if you guys observed any bottleneck space, like in the Labyrinth. Like, are there things where circulation crashes, or like people just kind of like stuck, or is it really always a flow?
Yeah, there is
And
a
then
flow.
off to the side, off to the side, the flow.
It
and
really is
side.
a kind of a beautiful dance, this kind of, almost like a wave.
Mhm.
You know, the people come in waves, and it's somehow miraculous.
One
how
after another.
People don't, there's a lack of conflict, there's a lack of bumping in, people are more polite.
Mhm.
But what about the areas, for instance, of the market, like the food market? And when you finally exit and you have to somehow navigate your way to your car, like, are those areas also designed well, or were outside your
I think it
scope
directs
work?
you. Yeah, I think it directs you to some places, and it's so easy and obvious. For example, the food court, like, you reach it by just
But I,
following the labyrinth.
yeah, but I guess like it's just different. Like, well, like mainly the marketplace and then the showroom level, they're pretty much the same everywhere else. But then it just the Burbank one, the parking lot, and that's just different. And then it didn't really make sense to us, you know, like it was not really well
Yeah, I
designed
feel
at the
like
time.
there is opportunity, like the area where you buy food, this one, the Burbank one is the one you mapped, right? I think
Yeah.
it's not very well integrated, and definitely what to do after you spent your money there, it seems like you're on your own, right?
Yeah.
You were done, get out, find your own way to, I mean, it's very uncomfortable to,
Yeah.
right?
And then it's like, it's kind of funny that there was one time I got a furniture in Burbank IKEA. I was like, okay, I have to unload it in my car, but my car is parked like across the street. I could not load my stuff here, and it's really inconvenient, I would say. I have to drive, and if I went there by my own, I would not be able to do it at all. So.
Well, you can, it's just.
It doesn't
Like
system.
nobody's gonna look for my stuff if I
No,
just put
they
it.
have a
there is
system,
a provision for it, it's
Yeah.
just not very comfortable.
Exactly.
And so I think also after you paid for the items from IKEA, and then you want to buy food or even look at it, I think that is where the bottlenecks and the conflicts start happening, because that area is not designed to go through with a big cart, which you still have from
Mhm.
previously shopping. So in a way, I feel like this area, even the accesses that you immediately have to make a decision whether to go upstairs or into the marketplace. You know, the accesses can be also designed in different
There
ways.
is a shortcut downstairs too, that you do not really have to go upstairs, like we actually did take,
That's, I
Those
think,
were
what Donna
not-
meant
yeah.
by the
Right,
marketplace.
so you have to make a decision, right? There is no way or no easy way or organic way to be able to do both,
Mhm.
right? Like you have to decide, either you go upstairs, in fact, I never go upstairs, for instance, ever. Maybe there is something interesting that I could look at, but it's, you know, if you're not planning to buy a couch or a bed, you don't have any reasons to go upstairs.
so that's the reason they don't really have card like upstairs provided.
Well, that's why, that shortcut is very hidden.
Yeah.
You have to really know that you don't
Exactly.
have to go through the upstairs area.
Yeah, that's why we were so interested in observing how many people take the shortcuts and do they consider it or not. Because some people go straight through the shortcut without wandering around, while others just stop in the middle and look around, like think what's going on and which direction to go to. So they're the different.
Mostly families, they would go with the shortcuts.
And I feel also if you maybe analyze like 2-3 case studies, like specific shopping experience as opposed to like a generic observation, maybe some interesting things would have surfaced. Because for me, going to IKEA is an act of resistance. Like I would never go upstairs ever because I despise the way they push you through that labyrinth. So I know where the 4 things I need to buy are, and that's it. Right? But maybe I'm missing on some experience. So maybe to analyze a few cases, it would have given you maybe a spectrum of possibilities or interesting data that is beyond what you can observe looking at the maps and then kind of focusing on a few.
I think you can only do that after you've been there already.
Facts.
Yeah.
So like at least for every person, at least they have to have that experience of going up.
Yeah, there is a Sicilian proverb that says you can only trick the old lady once.
Some people like to be tricked in that way, so it's
But what I'm
therapy
saying,
for
after
them.
you go the first time, you get the overall idea, then it's predictable, right? They never switch the display very rarely because in a way they educate you to go through the same path. But maybe another strategy.
And it's even the same at most IKEAs worldwide, where this, even though it's a different building, the setup is almost identical in most places. So I can find my shortcut that I usually use, even in a different IKEA.
Exactly.
Maybe as designers, you have a better way of observing that and learning
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
there are that other people want.
Yeah, I guess there is another kind of people just like me. Like I'm really bad at direction and stuff. I'd rather to follow the path so I won't get lost. And then, but I'm pretty sure I know what exactly I want to get. I'm not gonna get the things I'm not gonna get. So
It's the same. So my husband is like you. He knows where he can go and just goes there directly. I have a very bad sense of direction. I just get lost and I keep going around in circles. I don't know what is it. But yeah, I'm the one of the people who get lost in IKEA and just keep walking around.
It will be interesting to see how that's played out in the new IKEA that they're building right now, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
3 times the size or something.
It's
It's,
gonna be the largest IKEA in the world.
yeah.
Really?
So,
In the world.
you know, how can they, I mean, that will be interesting for you. I know the class is over, but I would recommend to go there next year whenever it opens. I'm sure it's soon. And to see, are they using the same strategies, or what did they change? What did they update? What is now, what did they abandon? I don't
Maybe
know.
there are more shortcuts.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I-
probably
I-
what is.
I was very surprised by the amount of people that you found that were using the shortcuts, because I always have the feeling I'm the only one, because I'm an insider and I'm, smart. And now I feel not that special anymore.
Well, they also took data on the gender of the shortcutters too.
So was it
How many
mostly?
gender do you
No.
mark?
Yeah, which gender?
More men
Mostly
than
families,
women.
we saw that,
families,
yeah.
women. with the
It was
kids.
the men. Oh, the women with the kids took the shortcuts.
The
more.
kids like,
Oh.
you know, that,
Well, because you have to be fast when you have
With
little
kids,
kids,
yeah.
because
Exactly.
They need to go to different things.
Yeah,
It's a
and
ticking
then,
time
and the
bomb.
kids likes, you know, the kids area was right next to it, and you don't have to walk through the whole thing to get to the kids area. So kids just directly go there and then eat there too.
So they're actually going to put all the findings in a book, because since William Holly White was the inspiration, they're following his method. He had the film and the accompanying
Mhm.
book. And so the book will have all of that data and all of that information, and then will be uploaded to their website.
Mhm.
One thing that eventually you should do, and if you haven't done it, is go get all the citation for the stuff that you've used that belong to other people. You understand that, right?
Yeah, we have it in the,
I didn't see all of it. I mean, you would have a long list
Mhm.
of credit that you
Yeah.
would have to, citation that you would have to do,
Mhm.
based on some of the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully you have all that registered. It's just part of our respect for other people's
Mhm.
intellectual properties that we have to do that. And
Yes.
so, okay. Yeah. Before you put it on your website,
I think
please
there's
do.
a final editing to do before it goes live.
Right.
No Pinterest. Great.
All right.
Yeah, but I
Congratulations,
think
huh?
great achievement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great job.
I mean, a lot of, I've seen it also before, you know, a lot of work went into this, a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding of things, but then even, how long is the movie now, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Roughly
12
12 minutes? I mean, to make a movie that's 12 minutes long and is not boring
Yeah.
in between, just technically, is really hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and I think you did a really good job. There was
Yeah.
no real lengthy, weird part. Well, there was weird. So I think that's also great, and that's something that's also important for you, because film is more and more of an important presentation media for designers also. And to learn how to do that is a great thing.
Yes, and it's not an easy job. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Great, thank
coming.
you.